I wish I knew how to get through to people. I wish I had a magic button. I wish I had the right words to get somebody to look at their situation, look at their surroundings, and say, oh, wait, hang on a minute. Earlier today in Minnesota, ICE, in my opinion, murdered somebody. A nurse by the name of Alex Preddy. There are multiple videos of this altercation by at least three different recording witnesses. A legal right, by the way, I should mention. I've poured over the footage from these videos. First things first, I want to make it very clear. The official stance of the US government is that Alex Pretty was armed. From what I can tell in the videos, he's not. But I do want to make it very clear that even if he is carrying A, that is your constitutional right, and B, he is permitted to legally carry a gun. So even if he had a gun, it is legal. It should also be mentioned, he was not brandishing a gun. As I mentioned, I poured over this film. There is not a single frame in any available video, at least at this point, where he ever has a gun in his hands. And some people might try and say, oh, well, officers saw him with something in his hands. They must have confused it for a gun because he did have a phone in his hand. Except he was about this far away from an officer holding his phone like this. And they walked together for several seconds. More officers surrounded him. They pushed down another bystander. Now, it should be mentioned that Alex Preddy is a nurse, and he went to the aid of that person that they had pushed down. I should mention first, before they pushed her, they tear gassed her. Or, sorry, pepper sprayed her. Pepper sprayed her from about this far away from her eyes. So he went to assist her, the person that they pushed down. And I don't mean by accident. I mean physically, hands on shoulders, the agents pushed her back. Probably lucky that she landed on snow and not concrete. Anyway, as he is down helping her, the officers, agents surround him. They pepper spray him and continue to pepper spray her. They then separate the two of them, and 8 agents surround this man. They subdue him, get him on the ground. Several of the agents, I don't know how many, proceed to beat on him. Kick, punch, one potentially pistol whipping him, another one hitting him with the pepper spray canister. Supposedly, during this altercation is when an officer pulls a gun from his back, for a holster, supposedly. Now, I say supposedly because, again, I don't know if he was carrying. If he was, the gun was holstered, so it was never a threat to them in the first place. I've heard accounts say that he told the officers he was carrying, which, again, makes sense that you would say that to officers when they're trying to take you down because you want them to be aware that, hey, I have a weapon on me, so that they're aware of that, right? You're not trying to hide that fact. Whether or not he said this, I don't know. Again, I was not there. I haven't heard that audio, but I'll trust the bystanders. Whatever the case may be, there is a point in the video where you can see shots being fired from ICE agents. Again, at this point, another officer has pulled this gun from Alex Preddy's holster on his back, assuming that that's the chain of events that has happened. So by this point, even, if he did have a weapon, he is unarmed, okay? They have already removed the gun from his possession. The officer proceeds to reach down, pull his gun from his holster, hold it up to some point in his back. I cannot tell you if it's the spine, somewhere between the shoulder blades is what it looks like to me. Officers were in the way when that first shot was fired, so I can't tell you exactly where it was. All I know is it was above the small of the back and I believe below the back of the head. And he shoots him once in the back. This is not self-defense, I should mention. You shoot somebody in the back, especially someone that you have just held down on the ground and beat, accosted, that's already not self-defense, okay? But even so, he's still alive at this point. He's been shot in his back. So he puts one leg under himself to try to stand, get himself up, right? Because at this point, once his first shot is fired, the other ICE officers kind of back away. This officer then proceeds to shoot him a second and third time in the back. I don't know if any of these hit him in the head, but again, it was from behind. This is when he drops to the ground. The officer then proceeds to back away and continue unloading. As far as I have heard, and as far as I can tell from footage, 2 officers shot at him. I could be incorrect on that, but we know at least 1 did. And it looks very much as though 2 shot at him. I have read reports originally saying 5 shots were fired into him. I've also read reports saying that 11 shots were fired total. So somewhere between this. As for how many hit him, I don't know. He's dead. Doesn't matter. But it does matter. Because following this, the United States government's official position became he was there to cause harm. His intention was to do maximum damage. I should mention that this man does not have a criminal record outside of, I think, traffic violations, parking tickets. He has no record otherwise. He's an American citizen. I don't know if he lived in Wisconsin as of this point, but he was a resident of Wisconsin in the past, and I believe he may have come from Illinois. I could be wrong on that. Do correct me. Whatever the case, ties to Wisconsin. And that's where he was slain. Multiple people caught this on camera. The officer that shot him, I have no authority to say this, but was never in an AD. At least not at the point where he started shooting. You could make the argument that, oh, well, if you're going to get on top of somebody and grapple with them, that, yeah, you might get hit back, right? And if that's a one-on-one fight, sure, that's a possibility. When you've got 8 people on top of a guy who's face down into the concrete, and you want to say that person's the threat when they're unarmed, at least their hands are empty, right? They don't have a gun in their hands, okay? Whether or not they have a gun in their holster on their backside, whatever the case may be, not in their hands, okay? Never was it in their hands. Again, it is their constitutional right to carry that weapon. It should be noted that right now, the official stance of the U.S. government is that protesters are domestic terrorists, okay? ICE agents are literally going around and filming people who are at these protests and entering them into databases that list them as domestic terrorists. Trump has also said that he wants domestic terrorists to be put away, as well as the mentally ill. And he has also gone out of his way to say that anybody who didn't vote for him is mentally ill. And he's talking about bringing back mental institutions. I hope that you can see where I'm going with this. I don't know how you can defend this. No matter who's in charge, no matter if the government's controlled by the left, the right, whatever. If anybody in government was doing this, it's unjustifiable. Biden's no saint either. He continued to ramp up ICE. He continued to utilize the cages that Trump was putting detainees in the first term. I should also mention that being here undocumented in the US is not a crime. When they call people illegal immigrants, that's just the term they're using to make them sound like criminals. Because when you hear illegal, you think the perpetrator is the criminal. Being here undocumented is a civil violation, not a crime. You are not a criminal if you are here undocumented. We also have sanctuary laws, and we have other laws that help to allow people to seek citizenship once they are here. And it should be mentioned, too, that if ICE was going after criminals anyway, why would they lure people to courthouses and arrest them outside courthouses when they're showing up for their to process their citizenship? Like, that makes no sense to me. Why would they be arresting, detaining, deporting toddlers, 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds? How are those people criminals? Existing within the United States, with papers or not, is not illegal. When Trump creates a gold card that says, oh, if you have $5 million, you can just buy citizenship. What that's saying is that, well, the wealthy get a way around this. They get a loophole. It should be noted, too, that Trump has made nearly $2 billion since he got into office in 1 year. $2 billion in 1 year. That's not including his presidential salary of $400,000. He has been golfing at his own golf resorts, which taxpayers have to pay security for and pay for that trip. So taxpayers are literally paying Donald Trump not only to be the president on the days where he's golfing, but to go out and golf. They're paying for all of that. When he holds meetings, he is doing so on Trump properties so that taxpayers have to pay for the boarding of everybody who goes to that meeting. He is literally getting wealthy off of every action that he possibly can. If he could create money from breathing, he would do it. He has scammed people, his own voters, with cryptocurrencies, which he has rug pulled. And he wants to deregulate that shit. He has used AI to artificially alter images of people he doesn't like to make them more racially stand out. Recently, a girl that was arrested was given darker skin in an image that was artificially altered by the White House and put out by the White House officially. There have been multiple occasions where the White House, where the Department of Homeland Security, where Border Patrol have signaled, dog whistled, whatever, Nazis, Nazi propaganda, Nazi quotes, Nazi actions. When Kristi Noem stood in front of a podium that said, "One of ours, all of yours," that was in reference to a Nazi slogan. The multiple times that Trump has tried to slip in the number 1488 into statistics that he has shared, which is also a Nazi dog whistle. If you don't know why, look it up. I highly encourage you to. Maybe don't trust the guy who reportedly slept next to, and this is by his own ex-wife, so like, someone who would know, a copy of Mein Kampf. Maybe don't trust the party who has a Supreme Court justice on the payroll of a billionaire who has a garden in his mansion dedicated to Hitler. Maybe don't trust the administration that says nobody can compel us to release the Epstein files, and there's nothing you can do about it. Literally. They just came out and said that. Paraphrasing, of course. Maybe don't trust an administration who put another Supreme Court justice in who said, well, really the president is above the law, citing an old British, English, whatever, court, royal court, to say basically, no, Trump is above the law. He's basically a king. You cannot go after him for any reason. Literally saying that nobody has the authority to stop Trump. They say the president, but, the next time we have an election, I guess, that'll flip, right? If somebody on the left gets back in office, do you think they're going to be allowed to do everything that Trump has done? Maybe don't trust the guy who said, "Oh, I've never heard of Project 2025. I never read it. I don't like it. I don't condone it. I'm not doing anything." Who has his vice president is one of the co-authors of it, who works with the Heritage Foundation, who wrote it, and who has already implemented over 54% of Project 2025. So much so, the head author, I might be mixing up some facts here, and I do apologize for some of this, but hopefully at least the general premise comes across, said that never in his wildest dreams did he think it would have gone this fast, this smoothly, that they would have implemented so much of it so fast. And what is the goal of Project 2025? To eliminate the powers held by other branches of government and give those powers to the president. The unitary executive theory. Basically the theory that, no, actually, we are supposed to have a king. Maybe don't trust the guy who has continually flirted with the idea of running for a third and a fourth term, who has said, well, maybe I'm just going to have to enact the Insurrection Act so that we don't have to have elections anymore. When he said that initially, just a handful of weeks ago, he didn't say because of the turmoil going on in the country, which he is bolstering, by the way. But he literally said because maybe we shouldn't have elections anymore. I don't know what to say, man. Like, I don't know how you can watch what is going on, remove the politics from it for a moment, and say, yeah, I like this one. I don't know how you can go about defending Kyle Rittenhouse taking an AR-15 to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and shooting 3 people at a protest, allowing him to walk right by police as protesters were pointing that, hey, this guy just shot 3 people. He wasn't detained there at all. They had to detain him at his house later. He was exonerated. He was acquitted. Defending that guy as he went around on the podcast circuit, on multiple right-wing podcasts, to bolster his own fame, essentially. A guy that went to a protest with an AR-15 and shot 3 people, that's fine. But a guy at a protest with a legal permit to carry a gun, potentially having a gun, that he was not using, was not wielding, was not brandishing. And I'm not even positive he had one. I'll talk about that here in a minute. You can't have it both ways, is my point. I mean, you can, you will. People will jump through hoops to make sense of all this stuff, even when it doesn't make sense. They don't care about contradictions. The other thing is, too, is that the gun that was found on the body of Alex Preddy, or was taken from him, was a Sig Sauer P320. And the thing that's notable about that gun is that is the gun primarily used by ICE agents. I'm not saying they planted it on him because I have no way of knowing that. It's just kind of curious as a coincidence as that is. But it's also worth noting, too, that there are several frames from the videos. He's wearing a fairly tight jacket or hoodie, whatever he is wearing on his top, that I would think that if a gun was in the back pocket or holster or in the belt or whatever, like you'd see a bulge on the back side where there's no like bulge visible anywhere back there. So it's weird to me. Again, this is all speculation. He does have his like shirt or hoodie or whatever pulled down past the belt line, past the waistline, so it's possible it could be under there and you just don't see. Maybe the camera doesn't line up properly to see any sort of like bulge or whatever, right? Conditions might not be favorable to show it. So he may have had it. I don't know. What I do know is that there were several seconds where there were 8 ICE officers on top of him, ICE agents on top of him, where it's not impossible that they planted something, is my point. I don't want you coming away from this thinking conspiratorially that they did plant something. What I want you coming away from this from, honestly, they say, make America great again. Also, fun fact, that is also a nod to a Nazi slogan, but that's whatever. America never really was great. We've done some good things in our past. We were never great. There was a time we were pretty good. And if you don't know, that's a reference to Alex Preddy and Renee Good. May they rest in peace. They deserved a better country.